Welcome back, Bullseye Movies viewers, wanting Georgie to fight back. Just not like this. At this point in the episode, it's completely reasonable for viewers to want Georgie to stand up for himself. Fred is being cruel, smug, and predatory. He's attacking Georgie's livelihood and doing it with a smile. Watching Georgie sit back and take it would feel wrong. The problem isn't that Georgie retaliates, it's how he chooses to do so. Georgie and Ruben's plan to sneak onto Fred's property and pour bleach into his tow trucks is, quite frankly, ridiculous. It's not bold. It's not clever. It's not even particularly satisfying. It's just stupid. This isn't a case where the characters go too far morally. It's a case where the plan is so poorly conceived that it makes the audience anxious for all the wrong reasons. There's no elegance to it. No strategy. No real sense that this action will meaningfully solve their problem. Instead, it feels like something impulsive teenagers might do, not two adults trying to keep a business afloat. What makes it even worse is that the plan somehow works. There are no immediate consequences. No complications. No close calls. And yet, instead of feeling relieved, the audience is left uneasy, because Georgie's behavior afterward is a walking red flag. Georgie's guilt makes everything worse. After the sabotage, Georgie spends the rest of the episode acting suspicious, evasive, and emotionally unavailable. He's jumpy. He's distracted. He's clearly hiding something. And while the audience knows exactly what that something is, Mandy doesn't. From Mandy's perspective, Georgie's behavior looks eerily similar to that of someone having an affair. He's secretive about where he's going. He avoids eye contact. He deflects questions. He offers vague explanations that don't quite add up. It's not unreasonable for Mandy to worry. In fact, it would be strange if she didn't. The real frustration comes from the fact that Georgie refuses to explain himself, not because he's protecting Mandy, but because he's afraid of dealing with the consequences of his actions. His instinct is to dodge, delay, and minimize rather than be honest. While it's understandable that he wouldn't want to confess to committing vandalism, the way he dances around the truth makes everything worse. His half-answers and nervous deflections only reinforce Mandy's fears. The more he avoids the subject, the more suspicious he looks. This isn't just miscommunication, it's manufactured miscommunication. The episode relies heavily on the audience knowing the truth while Mandy doesn't, creating tension that feels less organic and more artificially prolonged. A marriage strained by forced conflict. Georgie and Mandy are no strangers to misunderstandings. Their relationship has always been shaped by different priorities, communication styles, and emotional blind spots. But in this episode, the conflict between them feels less like a natural extension of those differences and more like something imposed by the plot. We know Georgie is lying, but we also know he's not cheating. That puts the audience in an awkward position. We're asked to empathize with both characters, but the situation itself feels unnecessarily drawn out. Mandy's conclusion, that Georgie might be having an affair, isn't unreasonable. But watching her spiral toward that assumption is still deeply frustrating, because we know it's based on a misunderstanding that could be resolved with even a partial truth. What makes this especially difficult is that Georgie doesn't do much to clear his name. He doesn't reassure her in meaningful ways. He doesn't set boundaries that would ease her fears. Instead, he continues to act in ways that confirm her worst suspicions. The episode doesn't offer any real resolution to this tension. Like several previous conflicts in the series, it simply lets the strain linger. The argument isn't resolved. The truth isn't revealed. The emotional distance between Georgie and Mandy remains. And that unresolved tension feels particularly heavy because it stems from something so small in the grand scheme of things. Low stakes, high consequences. That's the core issue with Dirty Hands and a Barbed-Wire Fence. The actual stakes of Georgie and Ruben's misbehavior are relatively low. Fred isn't threatening their lives. He's not taking illegal action. He's just being a ruthless competitor. Yet the consequences of Georgie's response are enormous. His marriage is strained. His trust with Mandy is eroded. His partnership with Ruben is complicated. And none of it feels proportionate to the problem they were trying to solve. Instead of escalating the conflict in a meaningful way, through legal battles, business maneuvering, or even emotional confrontations, the episode opts for petty sabotage and secrecy. And in doing so, It creates a ripple effect of stress that feels unnecessary. Jim's advice, well-meaning, poorly timed. To make matters worse, Georgie receives validation from an unexpected source, Jim. In a moment that feels both well-intentioned and deeply misguided, Jim tells Georgie that he's doing the right thing. This moment is particularly frustrating because Jim doesn't actually know what Georgie has done. He's offering advice based on incomplete information. And while we can't say for sure how he would have responded if he knew the truth, the effect is clear. Georgie feels justified. Instead of reconsidering his choices or coming clean, Georgie is now encouraged to double down. The lie grows larger. The secrecy deepens. And the possibility of resolution feels even farther away. Jim's role here highlights one of the episode's recurring themes: people giving advice without fully understanding the situation. It's realistic, sure, but it also reinforces the sense that Georgie is being nudged in all the wrong directions. A frustrating episode despite strong performances. It's important to note that Dirty Hands and a Barbed-Wire Fence isn't without merit. There are genuinely funny moments sprinkled throughout the episode. The performances are strong across the board. Montana Jordan captures Georgie's anxiety and defensiveness beautifully. Emily Osment conveys Mandy's confusion and hurt with nuance. Matt Letcher continues to shine as Fred, embodying smug antagonism with ease. And yet, despite all that talent, the episode ultimately feels more aggravating than entertaining. The tension doesn't feel earned. The conflict doesn't feel necessary. And the lack of resolution leaves the audience feeling drained rather than satisfied. By the end of the episode, it's hard not to feel like the writers took a promising premise and overcomplicated it in the least rewarding way possible. Georgie and Ruben's feud with Fred could have been a compelling arc. Instead, it becomes a catalyst for unnecessary marital strain and prolonged frustration. Final thoughts. Dirty Hands and a Barbed-Wire Fence is a reminder that not all conflict is created equal. While the episode aims to explore the pressures of financial insecurity, rivalry, and pride, it undermines those themes with contrived decisions and forced misunderstandings. Georgie's fear is understandable. His anger is justified. But the path he takes, and the damage it causes, feels out of step with the actual threat he's facing. In the end, the episode isn't memorable because of what happens, but because of how uncomfortable it feels to watch characters make avoidable mistakes while refusing to communicate. And while that discomfort may be intentional, it doesn't make it any less frustrating.